Elon Musk, talked about it the other day, 9.2% shareholder in Twitter. Oh, there was some funny takes. Some journalist said, Elon Musk takes majority stake in Twitter, but it was stake as in S-T-E-A-K and not S-T-A-K-E. And I am not one to pick on typos of anyone, full stop. But I have a sense of humor. And, people were ripping into this individual. First of all, Elon did not take a majority interest, period. Second of all, that's not how you spell steak. And so the majority stake, like the big piece of meat, it was funny. And I said, unless Elon takes his majority stake, well done, with ketchup. I don't know if I put with ketchup in there. Unless he takes his majority stake, well done. If he takes his majority stake, well done, then he should be canceled. But Elon Musk took a 9.2% interest, common shareholding in Twitter, $2.9 billion. Amazing. It's fantastic. I mean, I don't think I would ever want that much money in life because, be careful what you wish for, whatever. But it's a tool, and Elon is using his assets like a tool. He acquires the interest in the common voting shares of Twitter. And, I did a little, just a breakdown, it doesn't empower him to do anything. He doesn't have majority shareholding, so he doesn't control the company. I suspect he didn't want 10% or more shareholding because that, I think, in law would have made him an insider. It would have limited his ability to dispose of the shares or to do certain things. He would have been subject to more regulation being a 10% shareholder in the company. So maybe he didn't want the paperwork. But now he has been appointed to a director, not the sole director of Twitter. And that's a little different. Let me just see what this says here. The analogy is cute, but humans tend to get angry when punished, even when it is deserved. Human spite will forever be the strongest force in the world. Spite and love, I mean, they're two and they're two sides of the same coin, I think, to some extent. So that's it. So now he has been appointed director of the company, and it's fun stuff. Look, go to the boring paperwork, which is not so boring. It's still kind of fun. Was it this? Twitter? Is this it? Oh no, okay, we'll get there in a second. That was not the one I wanted to bring up. Remove, add to stream. No, I'm not. Don't add to stream. Stop sharing. Go to share. Do I make the firing the producer joke? No. Okay. I'm gonna get here we go. No, wrong one. What is going on here? I can't find it. Oh, here, I want to get the this is what I wanted. This is the resolution. Boring paperwork. Anybody who's ever owned a company, managed a company, you keep your minute books, and you have to keep your minute books up to date. When you're a publicly traded company, you have to be, a little bit more meticulous than when it's a private company. But minute books are just so that people can know who the shareholders of the company are, what resolutions have been passed, who the directors are. On the one hand, it's for liability. On the other hand, it's for responsibility. On the other hand, it's for, if you want to sue the directors of a company, you need to be able to find them. If you want to sue the shareholders of a company or the majority shareholders, you need to know who they are. If you want to make sure that a publicly traded company is complying with its terms, with its requirements under the law, you need to know. So just to bring this boring piece of paper up, April 4, 2022, Twitter Inc., yada, yada, yada. Dear Mr. Musk, because and the thing is this, you have to appoint someone and they have to accept the appointment. Twitter Inc., the company, and Elon Musk hereby agree as follows. Appointment of Mr. Musk as a director as soon as practically possible following the execution of this letter of agreement, subject and contingent to the provision by Mr. Musk, of any information that the company reasonably requires to complete its customary onboarding procedures, including a customary background check and completion of the company's D&O. Oh my goodness. Directors' duties and obligations questionnaire. I forget what that stands for. Directors and officers, sorry. For member of the board of directors of the company. The company and the board will take action so that Mr. Musk will be appointed as a Class 2 director with a term expiring 2024. I don't know what a Class 2 is in the context of Twitter. Let's just see if it says here. I don't think it says anything more interesting. Mr. Musk, for so long, agrees that So long as Mr. Musk is serving on the board and for 90 days thereafter, Mr. Musk will not, either alone or as a group, become the beneficial owner of more than 14.9% of the company's common stock, including for these purposes economic exposure through derivative securities, swaps, and hedging transactions. Interesting. Okay. I'm curious as to why. There might be the paperwork reasons. There might be they don't want Elon to partner up with other big shareholders to take a controlling interest of the voting shares. I don't know. If anybody in the chat knows, actually let me know. I'm not a corporate specialist. I just know how to, make sense of the basic stuff. The terms group and beneficial, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so he's on the board of directors. And then the question is going to be for most people, good, now what? Shareholders appoint the directors. What do the directors do? 101, people. This is not legal advice. This is just understanding the role. This is under Canadian law, I think. Even if it's not, it's basically the same. Basically the same. Get on board. Let me see here. Just make sure that we're sharing the right screen. Booyah. CEOs run the business, chief executive officers who, they run the day-to-day of the business. They're in the limelight. But there's another group of people you may not know about who have the ultimate authority, the board of directors, chosen by shareholders, which I went over when Elon became a shareholder. Say, good, he gets to appoint directors. He gets to vote on directors. Doesn't get to appoint, but the directors are appointed by majority shareholder vote at the annual shareholder meeting. The primary job of a public company's board of directors is to look out for the shareholders' interests. In fact, directors are legally required to put shareholders' interests ahead of their own. The board plays a supervisory role overseeing corporate activities and assessing performance. Directors are responsible for hiring and firing top managers and for setting compensation. So if anybody wants to read this, that's basically it. All that to say, Musk is going to have a more active role. He's going to play a bigger role of influence in Twitter as a director than as a mere shareholder, because as a shareholder, he only got to vote on the appointment of directors. Now he's a director. Doesn't control, doesn't make, executive decisions on his own, but makes them as the board of directors, as member of the board of directors. Who else, you might ask, is on this board of directors? Well, the CEO is Parag, but who else? And I don't know who these people are. So if there's anything interesting here, you'll let me know, interwebs, the aggregate knowledge of the interwebs. Who else is on the board of directors? Brett Taylor. This is board of directors, investor relations, Twitter. Brett Taylor, don't know who that is. Parag Agrawal is the CEO. We know who he is. Mimi Alamayehu, senior vice president, private partnership at MasterCard. Salesforce. Oh, look at this. We got to scroll down. Interesting. Hold on, I'm going to cough. So you can. I'll put this in the chat so everybody can go read this as well. It's kind of interesting. Go on now. Investor. You got Parag Agrawal, Mimi. Jack Dorsey is still on the board of directors. Don't know what his shareholding is anymore. Jack Dorsey, co-founder. Additionally, Jack co-founded Square. So you got Square. You got Salesforce. You got MasterCard. Silver Lake. Egon Durban. Egon Durban has been a member of the board of directors since March 2020. Private investment firm. Okay, very interesting. Martha Lane Fox. Omid Kordestani. I thought that said Dr. Fry. Dr. Fai Lee, professor at Stanford. Anyway, so that's it. You got these other people. CEO of First Dibs. Never heard of it, but that's just because I don't leave the house very often. And then we got Alliance Bernstein Holdings. So you got private investors, but now you have Elon Musk, the richest man on earth, I believe, with a 9.2% common shareholding in the company on the board of directors, with not more power, but definitely more say in the actual operations of Twitter. So I do say good news all around. So let's see what we got in the chat. So that's the latest there. I mean, the difference is he went from just being a shareholder to being a director. And I love it. It was Parag the other day says, after many meetings and many discussions, we've determined that Elon would be value added to Twitter on the board of directors. It's like, yeah. To quote Billy Madison. Oh no, is it Billy Madison? No, that's Wedding Singer. Things I could have told you yesterday. Okay. Let's see here. Viva. First of all, if that's your actual back, the big guy, well done. I would never want this because to maintain it is too difficult. I just want to maintain a healthy heart. And even that, I get tired of doing that. 1,000 bikers headed to Ottawa to protest against mandates April 29, 30, calling Canadians in support of the Freedom Convoy. You think trucks were loud? Wait until you have 1,000 bikes in town. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting question. Who's going to be reluctant to attend now that they've seen how the previous one has been absolutely targeted for what I believe is highly politicized prosecution? Who's gonna donate to a fundraiser for that, seeing what they did the last time? I may go down as a documentarian. I've gotten the invite and I've gotten the information from other sources as well. But talking about the monkeys, we've all been splashed with that cold water, even by ricochet. They did it once, and if anyone thinks that they're not going to do it again, if they don't like the protest, see what happens there. And those I don't know, they're not called Jacob brakes on bikes, but bikes are loud, and that's it. Oh, Viva, that was my next question. Will you go and cover it? Oh, I'll for sure go cover it. As a documentarian, as a lawyer trying to understand the legal impact of this, and as a lawyer who's concerned about the wholesale desecration of our charter rights. Very excited for the Honorable Brian Peckford for tomorrow, but that's another story. So, vroom vroom instead of vroom vroom. Look, and I'm telling you, I would not recommend anybody vroom their engines on their hogs. I'm down with the lingo. I would recommend everyone don't do that, because you saw what the government did when they didn't even get their excuse. Give them the excuse. See what they do. Law is a scam. It's not a scam. It's a racket. And the joke is that if laws were written in a manner for normal people to understand, lawyers would be useless. So lawyers and politicians, or lawyers and regulators, have a vested interest in making sure the law is as incomprehensible as possible to the lowly citizenry, so that lawyers can maintain their fabricated monopoly of the practice. Because there are ways to draft laws in a manner that everyone can understand and everyone can apply. But look, if everyone could read and understand the law and interpret it for themselves and apply it for themselves, you wouldn't need lawyers. And could you imagine a world without lawyers? Cue the Simpsons reference with Lionel Hutz picturing everybody singing around Kumbaya with a rainbow in the background. So are they setting up Elon? If he must look after his interests of Twitter ahead of his own personal interests, is he more liable to a lawsuit if it goes to the other board members? So that's the interesting question. I don't no, because the director's interests have to respect and have to prioritize shareholder interests over their own. So him being a shareholder, I mean, no, I don't see how there could be a conflict there in that they're going to accuse him as a director of having made a decision, or voted on a decision that favored his interests as a shareholder. It goes the other way around, where the directors make decisions that don't benefit the shareholders, but benefit them. Shareholder remuneration is the number one. You imagine director remuneration, executive remuneration, expenses of the company, contracts of the company. When the directors give themselves exorbitant salaries, vote on employment contracts involving friends and family, and pay them exorbitant salaries, that's good for them, but it's bad for the shareholders. That's when it becomes a problem. I don't think that Elon, by virtue of him being a shareholder, would put him in a conflict as a director, because as a director, his loyalty, his fiduciary obligations are owed to the shareholders in the first place, which include him. So as a director, he'll act in the best interests of all shareholders, which include him. It becomes a problem when the directors are not shareholders, or they don't give a sweet bugger all, because if there's no dividend declared to shareholders, who cares? They've taken that money out by way of exorbitant salaries, fancy expenses, personal cars and the like. That's when it becomes the conflict of interest. I just saw something. That was an email that came in. I don't know if you guys hear the beeping noise when I get an Outlook, but at least now I know you don't see the little warning of the email. Hey, Viva. Is that El Viva? Musk can form voting blocks to affect real change. A phone call to BlackRock and Vanguard asking, you guys want to make money? Change coming. Did the stock go back down? I can't do it. Let me just go see what the Twitter stock is at. Twitter stock price. Okay, well, it's at $50, It went from 40. So it went from 38 to, and then now it's settled at 50, up 30% over the last 5 days. People, you don't want me buying the stock anyhow. I've got the Midas touch, the anti-Midas touch. Every stock I touch typically turns to poop